Hello everyone and welcome to Home is Where the Heart Opener is. This is our Yoga for Golfers series and I'm so excited to offer this class. I love to golf. I know so many of my friends love to golf. So I'm really excited to have a full series of yoga classes for all the golfers out there. This first class is going to focus on our warm-up. So it's really important to warm up your muscles and your joints that you're using in your golf swing. Golf is one of those sports where we have a lot of repetitive motion. We're doing the same type of swing over and over again. So it's really important that our joints and our muscles are appropriately warmed up. So we're going to focus on warming up our shoulders, our side body, and our hips. First, we're going to get started warming up that midsection. It's really important that we create mobility and provide a good warm up in our shoulders and our midsection so we can get a full range of motion in our golf swing. Bigger range of motion means faster swing speed and longer drives, and that's what we all want, right? So let's get started warming up our spine and our midsection. Go ahead and join me on your mat. We're going to get started just taking a few deep breaths and warming up that spine. So take a big inhale, reach those hands all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, swan dive forward, forward fold. Now in your forward fold, you're going to want your feet about hips width distance apart or a little wider, since this is our early in our yoga practice here. So you might want to bring those feet a little wider. Go ahead and relax your head and your neck. Let those hang heavy. And again, bring your belly to your spine here. You want a little bit of a knee bend in there. The goal isn't really to have perfectly straight legs. We really want to let the spine decompress. So we want to let the belly hang on the thighs with a slight knee bend, and then maybe reach for opposite elbows or let your arms just dangle. But let your head hang heavy. Take some of that weight off your low back and let your spine decompress a bit here. Take a few breaths here. As you get a little deeper into that forward fold, you can press those hips and your tailbone up towards the sky. Maybe straighten your legs a little more. All right, one more breath here. Exhale that all out. On your next inhale, go ahead and take a halfway lift, flat back, with that crown of your head reaching all the way forward. Straight legs, flat back, hands are pressing into your shins. All right, go ahead and exhale it back down for a forward fold, and then we are gonna root to rise, so roll up to stand, vertebrae by vertebrae. Lifting those arms all the way up to the sky, and then bringing your hands back to heart center or by your side. So we're going to do a few more half sun A's to warm up the spine. So take a big inhale, reach those arms all the way up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Again, stay for another breath here. You can let the head hang heavy. And then on your next inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And then root to rise. The arms reach all the way up towards the sky. Hands at heart center or by your sides. All right, let's do two more of those. So inhale all the way up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Stay for a breath here. Your next inhale brings you to halfway lift, flat back. Exhale it, forward fold. Root to rise. Reach back all the way up towards the sky. Hands at heart center. All right, let's do one more all together. Inhale, arms all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Your next inhale brings you up to halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, and then root to rise, rolling all the way up. Your head is the last thing to lift. Inhale those arms to the sky. Exhale, hands by your side. Okay, from here we are gonna get into some side body stretches. So on your next inhale, reach those arms all the way up towards the sky again, and then take your right hand and grab your left wrist. Take a big inhale, stretch all the way up, and then lean over to your right side. You should find a nice stretch all along your right or your left side body and even into your left hip a little bit. Your inhale, you can reach a little further. Make sure you're not hunching and rounding over and your chest is still spinning up. You can look up towards the sky. Exhale, see if you can bend a little further. All right, inhale it back up towards center. Let's switch out our grip. So reaching that right arm up, grab with your left hand, and then inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend towards your left. Feeling a nice stretch all along the right side body this time. Again, remember to spin that chest up, gaze is up towards the sky. Inhale, reach. Exhale, see if you can sink a little deeper into that stretch. All right, inhale it back up through center. You can relax those arms, take a breather. We're gonna do that 2 more times each side. So inhale, reach all the way up towards the sky. We'll grab our left wrist this time, reach up and over to the right. Stay for a breath here. Really get into that left side body. Your next inhale brings you back up through center. Switching the grip, we'll grab our right arm, reach that up and over to the left. Really getting into that right side body. Inhale to reach, exhale, inhale it up back through center. Okay, and then we'll do 1 more each side. So inhale those arms all the way back up through center. Grab the left wrist, reach up and over. All right, inhale it back through center. Switch that out, we'll grab the right side. All right, now this time we are gonna take our left foot and sweep that foot behind our right, lining up pinky toe to pinky toe. And then from here you can bend and forward fold all the way down, bring those hands down toward the ground. So from here we should be getting a nice stretch in our IT band. So you should be feeling this in your outer hip and all the way down the left side of your leg. We are going to start to get into those hips a little bit too. So this is a great way to start to warm up those hips and the rest of your side body all the way down into that IT band. All right, from here, let's root to rise and slowly roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. You can lift those arms all the way up towards the sky, and then let's switch those feet out. So you can step your feet back out, hips width distance, and then we'll bring that right foot behind the left, lining those pinky toes up. And then again, swan dive forward, forward fold. And you should feel a nice stretch along your right hip and IT band this time. Go ahead and relax your head and your neck. Take a couple breaths here. All right, let's roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. All right, and then from here, we are gonna start to get into our shoulders. So if you have a yoga strap, go ahead and grab that. And if you don't, grab a pillowcase or a necktie. And if you have none of that, I'm also gonna demo a prop-free option. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my yoga strap. And then when you've got your strap, go ahead and bring that, grab on the ends with each of your hands and just go ahead and grab that like this. And then we're gonna start to do some shoulder flossing. So make sure your arms are wide enough on that strap where you can get all the way around to your back. And then, you know, if that's super easy, you might wanna bring your hands a little bit closer. So find the right width that works for your shoulders, Depending upon how wide your shoulders are and how tight they are, everyone's gonna be holding their strap at a little bit different spot. But the goal is have it wide enough that you can get up, over, and all the way around. So let's just work into our shoulders and do a couple rounds of the shoulder flossing. Inhale as you're lifting it up. Exhale as you're lifting it back behind you. Inhale it up. Exhale it in front. Inhale up. Exhale behind. So we'll keep working into our shoulders. This really increases our shoulder mobility and warms up our shoulder joints. It's really important to warm up your joints and increase that mobility to help prevent injury or overuse and overstraining of our shoulders. This is a nice way to warm them up. And you can really practice this at any time, before your round, after your round, or really whenever your shoulders are feeling tight. All right, so I'm also going to demo a strap-free or prop-free option here. So this is what I like to do when I'm warming up out on the range, and I obviously don't have a yoga strap. So I'll just take a few shoulder swings. So I'll demo. I'll do about 8 shoulder swings backwards, really warming up the front of that shoulder joint. Really reaching far back behind you, reaching up really far. Again, I take about 8 swings back. I didn't count, so hopefully that's about 8. And then I'll do 8 swings forward as well, really warming up the back of our shoulder and into our lats too. All right, and then I'll do 8 on the other side. So we'll demo that, reaching up, reaching back. Keeping a nice tight core as you're doing this. Hips and shoulders still facing forward. All right, and then we'll do a few swings forward. Okay, so now you've got some strap like shoulder flossing or just some good old shoulder swing options for if you're out on the range warming up. Next, we're gonna get into a little bit more of our midsection and working on our mobility and our rotation. So just go ahead and bring your arms out to a T, and then tighten that core, bring that belly towards your spine, and then from here, go ahead and twist over to your right. So your left arm comes forward, your right arm comes back behind you, but we want our hips still squaring off from the front. So you're only rotating from that midsection. Go ahead and reach that right arm back behind you. This increases our range of motion all the way from our shoulders down into our hips. So really warming up that midsection. All right, inhale it back through center, and then exhale over to the left. Let's reach that left arm back behind you. Hips squaring off towards the front. Take a big inhale, bring it back through center. So let's rotate a couple more times. Reaching back behind us over to the right and center, and then exhale to the left. Stay for a breath here. Inhale back through center. Let's do one more rotation. Over to the right, center, keeping that core nice and tight. Over to the left and center. That's another good warm-up I like to do out on the range as well. You don't need any props. You can kind of just start to warm up that midsection after you do your shoulder swings and open up your shoulders too. Okay, so next we're gonna start to get into the hips. So from here, go ahead and shift your weight over to your left foot, bringing that right foot up to, just standing on your toes. And from here, bring that heel in towards your glute, and then use your right hand to grab your right ankle for a nice quad stretch. This is called a skater's pose in yoga. Yogi's choice on the left arm, you can kind of keep that on your hip for some more stability or out to the side. But really, we're just starting to open up through those hip flexors. And warming up our hip flexors are really important. Most of us spend a lot of our day or a lot of our time sitting, so our hip flexors can get really tight. So then when we get out onto the range, we want to make sure we have good mobility in our hip flexors, especially as we're following through in our swing. You want good mobility, you want those open hips so you can press your hip forward, again, increasing your swing speed and your rotation. So let's make sure we're warming up those hips. I'll join you back in skater's pose, keeping that core nice and tight for your balance here. So again, another great stretch you can do when you're warming up out on the range. All right, let's get into the other side. Go ahead and release that right leg, shift your weight over to your right side, and then go ahead and begin to lift that left leg up, bring that heel towards your glute, feeling a nice stretch in that left quad or hip flexor. You can press that foot and that ankle into that hand if you need a deeper stretch here, but really just simply grabbing at the ankle can really just start to warm up that hip flexor. We're gonna get into some deeper stretches next. All right, let's do one more each side. So go ahead and switch. Pick up that right foot this time. Stay for another breath here. All right, one more, let's go switch, and then pick up the left this time. Okay, let's get into those hip flexors a little bit more. We've warmed up our shoulders into our midsection, so let's get into those hips. Go ahead and join me at the top of your mat. We're gonna do a half sun A, kind of like we did earlier. So inhale, lift all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Your inhale brings you up to a halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, plant your hands, and then step back towards a plank pose. And in that plank pose, you want your shoulders stacking over your wrists and your heels stacking over the ball of foot. Get nice and long, crown of your head to your heels. All right, and then on your exhale, lift those hips up and back for downward facing dog. And in your down dog, you want to bring your belly close as you can to your thighs. You might want a slight knee bend, as this is our first down dog of our yoga practice today. So take a couple breaths here to bend out, bend and straighten through those legs, warming up your hamstrings. We're just gonna be here for another breath. All right, and when you're ready, go ahead and lift that right leg up towards the sky. Reach, 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 get long. And then on your exhale, step that foot right in between your hands for our runner's lunge. So look up, chest up and proud, get nice and long in that left leg. Begin to feel that through your left hip flexor. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and lower your knee, flip to the top of your left foot, and then you can lift that chest up and lift your arms up towards the sky. So arms here are yogi's choice. You can keep them up and lifted. You could bring them to your hips, or if you want more stability, you can even bring them to some blocks. But really, we're just gonna start to get into that left hip flexor. So, you know, your arms are yogi's choice. The focus is really on the hips. We're gonna spend about 10 breaths here. Just letting the weight of our body kind of let the hips sink a little further to our mat. Make sure you're keeping those hips squaring off towards the front. So the right hip's pulling back, the left hip is pulling forward. And again, to enhance the stretch here, you can really just press the top of your left foot into the mat. You can see that fires up your left hip flexor a little bit more. So really tune into your breath and your inhales and exhales. See if your hips start to sink a little deeper. All right, let's inhale those arms all the way up towards the sky together. Exhale, bring those hands back down to frame your right foot. And then from here, we'll flip to the ball of our left foot, lift that left knee up, and then bring that right foot back to a plank pose. And then just shift those hips up and back for down dog. We are gonna take that stretch on the other side now.
So when you're ready, take a big inhale, lift that left leg up towards the sky this time. Exhale, step that left foot in between your hands for runner's lunge. Look up, chest up. Get nice and long in that right leg. Begin to feel it in your hip flexor. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and lower that right knee down this time. Flip to the top of your right foot. And your inhale brings your arms all the way up, brings your chest up. Again, we got about 10 breaths on this side too. So arms are yogi's choice. You can rest them on your quad or your hips. Just take a few breaths here. Let the weight of your body sink those hips closer to the mat. Reminder to check in on your alignment. Your left hip should be pulling back this time. Your right hip pushing forward, keeping those hips squaring off towards the front. And if you feel like you need a little bit more here, remember to press the top of the right foot into the mat this time. Really fire up that right hip flexor. All right, let's take one more breath here. On your next inhale, lift those arms all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, bring them down to frame your left foot. Flip to the ball of the right foot, lift that knee up, and then step the left foot back to meet it for plank. And then shift those hips up and back for down dog. All right, and then from that down dog, we're just gonna drop our knees down to the mat for a table pose. I'm gonna turn around and face the front here because we are gonna get into some wrist stretches. So it's also really important that we're keeping our wrists warmed up and increasing our range of motion in our wrists as well. So a couple of nice wrist stretches that I like to do. Again, if you're in tabletop posture, you can flip your wrists around to face the front. And if this is a pretty intense wrist stretch for you, feel free to take it one hand at a time. So flip one hand around, one hand forward, and then you can switch. But this is a great stretch because it really gets into the forearm as well. So from here, you can just kind of stay stationary. You can kind of take a few circles around with your shoulders, shifting forward to the side and back. Bring it around clockwise and counterclockwise. If you are only doing one wrist, go ahead and switch hands. Make sure you get both sides. And make sure you're rotating both ways if you're doing circles. All right, so hopefully we've got our forearms nice and warmed up. So from here, we are gonna go ahead and bring your hands back around to standard tabletop posture. And then we are gonna flip our hands over. So our fingers are facing towards our knees. And this is also a pretty intense wrist stretch, so you might wanna do one at a time as well. Be gentle on your wrists. You don't wanna dump your whole body weight into them. Just providing a little different movement on our wrists. We spend so much time like this or flexed. Our wrists don't often bend this way, so this helps create some mobility in the front of the wrist as well. Again, you can circle around a few times. And then go ahead and flip to the other wrist. Bring those fingers back towards your knees. Rotating around, go clockwise and counterclockwise. All right, so after you've finished both wrists, you are all warmed up and ready to hit the range or hit the course. So I hope you enjoyed this first class in our Yoga for Golfers series, and I look forward to seeing you in our next classes. And whether you're working on more mobility or looking to cool down and relieve some tension after a full round on the course, looking forward to seeing you in our next class.